Okay, give me like a couple seconds here. It's just getting going. Okay, now we're good. Okay, so with that, I will call this September 23rd Walla County Council on Housing meeting to order at 2:06 p.m. So with that, we'll get right into introductions, and just so we can move this along in a timely manner, I'll call on people and then just introduce yourselves and who you represent. Okay, and I'll go according to order. It's in my Zoom box here. So TJ.
TJ Espinoza, good afternoon. I represent real estate in the Valley.
Okay, thank you. Becky Turner.
Hi, everybody. My name is Becky Turner, and I represent the STAR project here in Walla Walla.
Okay, thank you. Craig Volweiler.
I am Craig Boweiler. I am community representative for the housing sector.
Okay, thank you. Let's see here. Then Pam Clayton.
Hi, Pam Clayton, and I am here to represent Walla Walla Public Schools.
Okay, thank you. Anne Marie.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Anne Marie Zell-Shireen, representing the Voice of Domestic Violence Survivors with the YWCA.
Okay, thank you. Kimberly Powell.
I'm Kimberly Powell, and I'm an attorney with the Northwest Justice Project.
Okay, thank you. Paul Mitchell.
Paul Mitchell, Senior Pastor, Pioneer United Methodist Church Faith Community.
Okay, thank you. Rachel Elfenbein.
Hi, everyone. This is Rachel Elfenbein. I work as the advocacy coordinator with Community Council.
Okay, thank you. Randy Hinchcliffe.
Randy Hinchcliffe, City of Waitsburg.
Okay, Renee.
Renee Brooker, Walla Walla Housing Authority.
Okay, thank you. We do have a guest on here who's representing the Affordable Housing Council at the state level because she was appointed recently by Governor Inslee. So with that, Norma Hernandez.
Sorry, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I wasn't expecting to speak. I'm Norma Hernandez, and I was appointed to Governor Inslee Council Affordable Housing Advisory Board. So I'm here to observe.
Okay, thank you. I'm Mike Rostello. I'm the city administrator for City of College Place and chair of this council. And with that, introduce staff. So Sam Jackal.
Yeah, Sam Jackal. I'm the homeless housing coordinator at the Walla Walla County Department of Community Health. And happy belated birthday, Anne Marie.
Happy birthday. Okay, the Zoom boxes keep changing. I think I got everyone. Am I missing anyone? Hope not. Okay, hearing none, I will then move on here. So item 2 is approval of the August 26th, 2021 minutes. I will entertain a motion.
This is Craig. I move they be approved.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I hear there's a second. Okay, thank you. Any comments on this before I call the vote? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any against say nay. Okay, ayes have it. Thank you. Okay, item 3, counseling housing vacancy, hospital, veterans, and transportation. Sam, want to take this item?
Yeah, I just wanted to name those. I know we've been working on hospital. I'm unfamiliar where we were at with the veterans vacancy, and then we unfortunately have lost Andrea. She's taken a state level position, it sounds like, which is exciting, but I don't know who's gonna proofread my minutes without her here. So just wanted to raise those vacancies be sure that the council's aware and figure out any next steps.
Or
I'll circle back with Susan Blackburn about a hospital rep, because I put it to her a couple of times. So I will follow up because we definitely need somebody.
Thanks, Anne Marie.
And then with transportation, I could reach out to Angie P. There's a Valley Transit to see if she would have the interest. Because at the MPO level, there's going to be a period of transition for a while. So Andrea left to go to Oklahoma. And I'm on the MPO board as well. And just so everyone's aware, we're making an interim hire offer to Sean Darveshi, who is the full-time Palouse RTPO executive director. So he'll basically be moonlighting for the Walla MPO and will help Tim where needed. But there will be a period of transition where I don't believe we'll have that full coverage at the MPO level for a while. So I could take on talking with Angie. I would ask that if anyone can think of someone who could represent the veterans at this table, please do so. So we please talk with them and get them an attorney application so we can have a full board.
Yeah, and I don't think we need an application.
Yeah.
But I can, unless somebody else has someone in mind, I can check in here because I know we have the Veterans Advisory Board, maybe see if there's a connection there that would want to. We had met with SSVF and someone from the VA, but they were like a temporary person. And when I say we, I mean folks here at the Department of Community Health, to better understand who would be most helpful to be in that role. And there were just a number of staff transitions on all sides. And so that kind of fizzled out.
Well, it'd be great if you could take that on, trying to get someone to fill veterancy. I can cover transportation, and then Anne Marie could help on the hospital side. Does anyone else have comments on this agenda topic before we move on? Okay, hearing none, we'll go to item 4, which is the EDA Build Back Better Regional Challenge Grant. This is just to provide a general update on that because last time it was discussed, we didn't really have a concept of, we were hoping for someone to apply for it and things changed. But we are still going forward. So just to let everyone know, the community college, they are pushing ahead at filing this grant application through the Economic Development Commission. And it's generally a big idea grant that has a lot of money behind it. So we're writing up the narrative now. It's going to be due next month. If we're successful at getting this, it would be for up to $75 million per regional coalition over a period of 5 years. And the general projects that are being discussed is at the community college level, bringing back the trades program having to do with electricians, plumbing, carpentry, and so forth. Walla University taking on doing like a 3D printed house development workshop program over at the university, and then also building some 3D printed homes as well. And then a commercial kitchen, and then some seed money to help fund the executive director that's sorely needed for the Common Roots Land Trust, so we could get more grants and prop that up. So that is the general thing right now. So Nick Volusi over at the community college is taking a lead on it, and then Elizabeth Chamberlain, myself, and then Ralph Sterling, who's professor at Walla University. We're helping fill in the gaps. But if you get inquiries from anyone on that group, either for letters of support or ways to partner, that is like the Cliff's Notes for what that grant is for. It's a lot of money, and we're trying to get that in here because it could help with housing, trades, food, kitchen, and then also to extend dark fiber broadband across both cities. So, I mean, if we get it, it'll definitely be transformative. With that, is there any questions or comments?
My quick question. First of all, that's amazing. It sounds like a very promising program that could transpire for our community. What would the dollar value be of this grant that I think could have great economic ramifications for our community to really feel that throughout the different categories and industries?
Yeah, well, I mean, it really depends on if we get funded, because there's 2 steps to it, and then at what level. So step 1 is for 60 of the coalitions. They will give a grant of up to $500,000 to essentially develop like a work plan for like how you will achieve all this stuff. And then you turn that into the EDA and they will review it. And then of the 60 regional coalitions that turn in a work plan, 30 to 35 of those coalitions will end up getting the implementation awards, which will be up to $75 million per coalition. And it's for the American Rescue Plan Act grant. It's out of that. And that money can be spent down over a period of 5 years. And I mean, I think there would be ripple effects all across the board, because with the broadband, our issue in both cities, at least, is that there isn't, like, I would say, a unified signal between both cities. There's like in College Place here, City Hall internet is fantastic, but then you go 3 blocks to my house, and my internet at my house 3 blocks from City Hall is actually worse than the internet I had back in the early 2000s when I lived in Chicago. So it ranges. And then I think there's ripple effects with the housing side specifically, because if we're able to get that seed money for the Commonwealth Land Trust, there's a lot of passionate people behind that, myself included. But really, to take it to the next level, to get all the grants and to do all of that, you really need a full-time executive director. That's like desperately needed. So if we can get that seed funding, that's going to dramatically help stand that thing up, and then it can go on its merry way. As far as the trades program goes and the 3D printed homes, I think they'll have major ripple effects, because, I mean, part of the issue is, I know, because of enrollment challenges and budgetary challenges, some of those programs were curtailed at the community college. And I know with the trades that we deal with here at the city, they're swamped and there aren't enough people, and the contractors out in the Tri-Cities, they have enough work over there. So you're basically just hanging out there. So that will help on the other end. And then with the housing, same thing. They have 3D printed home to the level that they're doing them now is a newer concept. And I believe they'll likely have to be tweaks to municipal codes to accomplish that. But the technology is showing that that's a very affordable way of doing home construction, but it is experimental. But with that sort of seed funding from the federal level, you can take that risk. So.
Thank you. Very thorough answer.
Yep. Any comments, questions, thoughts? Okay, hearing none, we'll go to item number 5, which is Regional Housing Action Plan. With that, that would be Elizabeth Chamberlain's topic. Is Elizabeth on?
I don't see Elizabeth on the participant list.
Okay, well, I can do a very like 900,000 foot coverage of this. I mean, with the regional housing plan, basically, I know City of Walla adopted it. City of College Place City Council has adopted it as well, so that's good. I'm not sure about Waitsburg.
Yeah, we adopted it.
Oh, okay, good. So you adopted. So if I'm correct, the last one that might be hanging out there as far as adoption would be City of Dayton, right, Randy? Or
Yeah, that would be correct. I haven't heard if they've done it yet or not either.
Okay, I haven't heard either, so I'm taking it probably not. So I mean, they may be the only one hanging out there, but the main one to get done was City of Walla since they received the grant. So that basically means we're in compliance. So I mean, with that, with the key grant holder adopting it as with the others, that will open us up for some implementation grants at the state level, which is a good thing. And then, I mean, I know one outfall of that study I can say from the college place level is that originally, a couple of years ago, we tweaked our zoning to try and make it easier for manufactured housing parks to get developed in other areas. Because before it was just restricted to certain zones. So we tried to do this generalized housing zone, but because the realty market's so red hot here, it actually had almost like a opposite effect where in essence, because you could put a variety of housing in this new district, it basically had the effect of where an investor was looking at those areas, could look at those areas as a potential replace with apartments and such. So what we're doing, and it's going through planning commission and council now, is looking to bring back that manufactured housing zone specifically for those manufactured housing parks. So I mean, that's one element of what we're doing. And I know there's other implementation steps across the valley to take what's in that plan to the next level. So is there any comments, concerns, or questions with this topic?
As a means of review, Mike, what are the highlights of the regional housing action plan will be undertaken?
So I mean, it varies by city. So there's things in there about the zoning. There's things in there about that multifamily housing tax exemption. There's some specific boilerplates in there for that. I will say for College Place, we're a little bit on the blunt end of the instrument on that one because the way the multifamily housing exemption law is right now is that you either have to be a county with a population above 100,000, or you can be a city above 20,000, or you can be a county seat. And then you can adopt that multifamily house, the tax exemption. The problem the College Place and likely Waitsburg and Prescott find ourselves in is that we don't have a population of 20,000. The county doesn't hit that population threshold. And then we are in a county seat while Walla is. So we're basically disbarred from using that tax exemption at all. There have been attempts to generalize the code around that at the state level, but it keeps running out of steam. I thought it was going to pass the last time and it hit a brick wall. So that's something we need to work towards. But that's definitely like a multifaceted plan that has a lot of stuff in it. That's pretty much my like 900,000 foot overview because I wasn't supposed to present this topic, so yeah.
Thank you.
Mike and Sam, has the plan gone out to all the council on housing members? I think it would be useful if it hasn't been sent to all the council on housing members to send out the plan so everyone can read it because it is a long plan. I mean, it's hard to, like Mike said, to summarize the whole thing. And it has a lot of detailed data in terms of projecting what kind of different housing units will be needed up for the next 20 years. So, you know, that's some very useful data for our community to project in terms of what kind of homes we need to be building and then figuring out strategies to get those funded. So I think if it hasn't gone out, it would be useful to send it out to all the council on housing members.
I believe that past meetings, various forms of it have gone out. Sam, I would say if you could send another email blast with the final copy. of it. And if you don't have the final copy of it, if you go on the College Place board doc site for September 14th, you can actually just pull it from that. So, and then send it to everyone. That'd be great. Any other comments on this? Okay, hearing none, we will then move to the next topic. So community land trust update, Rachel.
Well, thanks, Mike, and thanks for providing the update that you've provided already on Commerce Housing Trust and what you're doing to potentially raise money for the director position. So there's not much to update. The board is still working, kind of placing the foundations, getting the foundations together for common roots. Tonight, we're going to start working on the resale formula, which sets the framework for permanent affordability over generations. So we're working with Julie Brunner, who's the consultant who did the Community Land Trust Town Hall with us. And so we're excited to be moving on to this stage. And that's about it.
Okay, great. Does anyone have any questions or comments on this topic? Okay, hearing none, thank you, Rachel. We will go to the next item, which is item 7, fiscal year 2021 HUD continuum of care NOFO. So Sam.
Yeah, and that was more, I just more wanted folks to be aware that that has come out, and I'll be working on submitting a project renewal request for our HUD COC grant. There is bonus funding for DV projects. It's all due, I believe, October 15th to Commerce, so that they have enough time to get everything wrapped up and included for their submission to HUD. And I know that that means it's a really tight turnaround. When I started in my role, there was a HUD work group as part of the Council on Housing, and we met one time, but there was no, it wasn't the time of it used to be called a NOFA, now it's NOFO. And it's kind of hard to predict what those bonus projects might be. So I don't know if this group is interested in reforming such a group. Last year there was no NOFA at all. Projects were automatically renewed. But the year prior to that, the bonus project was a DB project. So we could work on something and anticipate a bonus opportunity, but it's really hard to predict what those bonuses are. And the time from the release of the NOFA to when it's submitted is typically kind of short. I think this time was extra short. And I know Commerce was kind of on the edge of their seats, but I did want to share that, and that Tim Melia, Liz Gira, and myself had worked on some narratives to provide to Commerce for the NOFA for the YHDP, which is the Youth Homelessness Demonstration Project, which would add some sustainability to some of the youth homelessness work we're already doing. Washington State Balance of State was not selected for that funding. So that's kind of sad news, but that's all the NOFA related information I wanted to share, and then hear anybody's thoughts on the bonus project funding and trying to look at whether or not we want to prepare something in the event that there's another DV bonus.
Okay, so I'll open it up to the floor. Does anyone from the council have comments on if we want to pursue coming up with something in case there is that bonus project that manifests itself?
I would be remiss if I didn't say yes. I sure would love to work on this. I don't think it's realistic to try to get something done by the end of the month or whatever that short timeline is. It'd be just great to start working now, but I don't even have any ideas. So I would want to do this with others.
Okay, is there anyone else?
I'd like to ask Emery, just get a sense, where are you seeing kind of unmet needs with survivors of domestic violence in terms of housing?
Oh, the challenge of actually finding places, getting through all the barriers of the application fees. There's this, I can't tell you how many folks have reported that, well, they really wanted to rent me, but then they did the background check or they did a reference check. And because the police came to our former place of residence many times before, I was seen as a law enforcement risk. And, that's just so unjust. When the reason that the cops are coming is because of the perpetrator beating up the family. I don't know. I know that Becky from Star, Craig would probably say the same thing. We have difficulty not only finding places that take vouchers, but then just getting into them. And I will confess, I didn't read the NOFA because I got way too many things to read, and anything with that short of a deadline, I know I couldn't even think about doing. So I don't even know what the NOFA funds, and if it's bricks and mortar, there's no way we're ready to do that. But I think it's really, access is such a huge thing. And the other thing that we've been talking about as an organization is having that sort of emergency flexible funding fund to help people with those one-time needs that can sometimes be the make or break between keeping housing or losing it.
Yeah, thanks for that question, Rachel, and thanks, Anne Marie, for all of that. I'm wondering, because we are going to be talking about funding and whatnot, I'm wondering if we can keep this in our minds and maybe be sure that we're all kind of thinking of not just what our programs need, but what our community needs. And I think it's feasible that we could kind of come up with a dream state project for DV in those conversations even.
And I haven't had much time to even dream yet. And, I hope that after I do that, I'll have a much more exciting answer than the one that I just gave you.
Okay, is there any other comments on this topic? Okay, hearing none, we will go to item number 8, which is the TRAP and the ERAP 2.0 fund. So with that, Sam and Liz.
Yeah, and I don't think that Liz was able to make it on. I do see that Tim made it on. BMAC has apparently been having internet issues off and on. So that's super fun. And I am going to share. Sorry, technology. Okay, so the Treasury Rent Assistance Program has been operating for a while, and we still have quite a bit of funding in that. And if you'll remember, we first had ERAP, which is the Eviction Rent Assistance Program that was made available to us last year. And then TRAP became a thing. It was from a different pot of funding. Commerce is asking balance of state communities if they would be willing to opt out of TRAP and instead opt into ERAP 2.0. I believe it's additional CARES dollars that they're using the ERAP 2.0 funds for. They would simply just kind of move around funding. The big reason for that is the administrative burden of managing the Treasury Rent Assistance Program. The level of detail that is required in the monthly reports is much more extensive. And I have a table here, and I can send this out when I send out the the regional housing plan to folks that kind of shows some of the differences between the two programs. Really, it's the reporting that is a lot on program staff and on the county, and then on Commerce, because they have to compile all of that and get it to Treasury in a very short period of time. So we would have available to us $5,414,789 with ERAP 2.0. There is no limit on the number of months of assistance. Liz over at BMAC and I have been talking. She's been talking with her staff on how it would be best to handle that in terms of providing folks with that rental assistance. This does also, ERAP 2.0 will include utility assistance as well, which TRAP includes. So I am wanting to seek a recommendation from the council to opt out of TRAP 1.0 and into ERAP 2.0. And I will pause there.
Okay, is there any questions or comments on this topic? Looking, I see Anne Marie.
You may have said it and I had to jump off to take a call. Is there a difference in the funding source? Like, is one federal and one state? Or are there different things that you're allowed to do?
Yeah, so the TRAP funding comes from the Treasury pot, and I only know so much about that.
Okay.
And ERAP is coming through the state CARES dollars, and so there's more flexibility, and Commerce is wanting to really reduce the administrative burden of operating these programs.
Okay. And my guess is that organizations outside of government who are already receiving these funds are probably at the audit level, at the federal audit level anyway. So switching isn't going to push people into another audit, like having to get a bigger audit, right?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Okay, I was thinking of I was thinking mainly of the Alliance. If and maybe it won't affect them, maybe it'll just affect BMAC. If you break 750,000 in federal funds, you have to do the A133 audit, and those are nasty.
Yeah, and I was going, oh, this is not the right thing. Going to try to look because we've already BMAC has already, it's so right now it's just BMAC that we've subcontracted TRAP dollars with, and they've already broken that. They've spent over $1 million in TRAP dollars already.
And I think they do an A133 every year anyway, so that's old hat for them.
Yeah, and we will so we will have to de-obligate any funds that are unspent, and Commerce is willing to be flexible on when our TRAP cutoff date is. I will have to first get approval from the commissioners, depending on, I would like a recommendation from you all first to apply for ERAP 2.0, and then based on the timeline of that, we would set our date with Commerce of the TRAP cutoff, and then have a better idea of the funds we would be de-obligating.
Okay, Rachel.
Hi, yeah, Sam, I have a question, and I really appreciate that Department of Commerce wants to kind of lower the administrative burden for those working on this, because the research is showing that that's one of the huge barriers to getting the emergency rental assistance out the door to the renters and the landlords who need it. And just looking at this table that you're showing, the one difference that I'm really seeing that I have a question about with TRAP and ERAP is that ERAP, it says payments must be made to landlords. In TRAP, it says payments can be made to households. And I know nationally, I don't know about our county, and I'm wondering if you or Liz can provide us with this information, but apparently, at least nationally, research is showing that's been a major barrier that some landlords are just refusing to participate. I don't know why they wouldn't, but some landlords are refusing to participate and accept the money. And so that's why the Treasury created this, that the program can give the money directly to the tenant to then give to the landlord, because the landlords were not communicating with the emergency rental assistance program. And I'm wondering if that is an issue here in our county. And then if it is, what are we going to do about it if we do switch to ERAP?
Yeah, that is a good question. And I wish Liz was here so that she could correct me if I'm wrong. This has come up as something, as a notable difference, but we have not had that issue. There's maybe been a couple of landlords that have been somewhat reluctant, but as soon as BMAC engages with them, it's not an issue. Some communities have utilized like affidavits to make that payment to households, and we have not had to do that here in our county. So that is not a concern that the staff at BMAC have regarding ERAP 2.0. And I also would venture to guess that if it did become an issue, or if it was more of an issue in other balance of state communities, that Commerce would be willing to look at that and take in that feedback, because they have been Commerce has been incredibly responsive to feedback from folks that are operating these programs and getting these dollars out of the door. And I also would say, based on the calls that I've been on and hearing from other counties, that Walla Walla County has done a really great job at getting these rental assistance dollars out of the door in a timely manner. I know right now it's the slowest wait time that it's ever been, and it's about a week and a half to process an application. But generally it was only taking a matter of a few days. And there are some communities where folks are calling and not getting through to other people. There's even some communities that are doing like a lottery system with their rent assistance dollars, and that's not happening here. It's been going really smooth, even through the first iteration of ERAP, and then the amendment that added ERAP funds, and then this transition to TRAP. It's been a pretty smooth operational process, so which is a relief, because I'm not sure what I would do if it was not going so smooth. I'm very grateful for the staff over at BMAC that are managing the program.
Hi.
Oh, there we go.
Sam, I have a question for you. How many families have benefited from the ERAP program in our valley, and how many dollars have been given out?
Yeah, so I was trying to open some of that information. I was going to have Liz speak to those things. I have that information, and I can get to you. I can send it out afterwards, because there are ERAP had a different report than TRAP did, and so I'll have to combine those reports to see, and I can include the number of households, the funding source, and the total amount. So to date, for the TRAP program, as of the end of August, it was a little more than $1.3 million of assistance that went out to families, and that was beginning in April of this year. So April 2021 to August 2021. And I can pull together the ERAP numbers too, so you have a more comprehensive look at just how much assistance, how many households, and by what funding source.
Thank you. I think that'd be great to have a gauging mechanism to know how impacting the program is being to the valley, as far as the families that we're reaching and we're helping. So that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, does anyone else have more questions or comments on this topic?
Sam, do you need, what do you need, Sam? Do you need a motion?
I don't know that I need one, but I would like one. I would like a recommendation from the Council on Housing. I want you all to feel like you're able to weigh in. I don't want to simply, I've been working with BMAC and Liz because they're going to be the most impacted as the ones that are operating the program. But I want to be sure that it's a community decision to opt into TRAP 2.0 and to opt out of TRAP 1.0.
I strongly recommend that we wrap into TRAP 2.0 and wrap out of the other wrap.
Okay, so is that in the form of a motion?
Yes, I'll make it a motion, whatever will best help Sam make this work for our community.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, Paul seconds. Any further comments? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any against say nay. Okay, ayes have it. Okay, you have direction.
Yay, thank you.
Yep.
Tim Melia, will you help me do a rap song about this?
Absolutely, Anne Marie. Anytime I can rap with you, I would be happy to do so.
Oh man, you are just making this nerd's dream come true.
Love it.
Okay, so to go to the next item on the agenda here, I believe is that coordinated housing fund. So with that, Sam.
Yeah, and I know we are kind of getting close as far as time goes, so I'm going to go through this a little bit quickly, but I'm also going to share it out so that you can take time to look at it. During the last Council on Housing meeting, I shared the Coordinated Housing Fund report for 2020, and in those discussions, there was a desire to form a work group to take another look at that. We obviously, with the rent assistance dollars, but other COVID-related relief dollars that have come through for homeless housing, we've had a lot of funds come through, and we have not really had time or energy to talk about what's working. I would say our strategy has been to ensure there's no disruption of services, definitely to make sure we're meeting folks' needs during COVID times. But I wanted to give a quick overview of the funding that we have here, and then also share what the Coordinated Housing Fund looks like now, and that includes 2060, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and then 2163, the Homeless Housing and Assistance Act dollars. So the grants that have the red there are the ones that have ended. We've received the emergency housing grant, the eviction rent assistance program, and I actually am going to double check this number because I don't think that it includes the amendment in which the added funds. Community Development Block Grant CV dollars, we use those for micro enterprise assistance, and then CB1 dollars, some of those for micro enterprise assistance. That has ended. We used that full 40,000, and then the subsistence payments are ongoing, and that is run through BMAC, so that's rent, mortgage, and utilities to county residents. We've been awarded and have an award letter for the CB2 funds. That adds some additional subsistence payments. We're just waiting for the statement of work, and then we'll be able to amend the contract with BMAC to add additional subsistence payments for folks in Walla Walla County, and that's outside of the city of Walla Walla. I believe the city of Walla Walla has also received CV1 and CV2 dollars, and has added some to subcontracted with BMAC for subsistence payments for those that are inside of the city limits. And then we have the Emergency Solutions Grant, which also came for COVID. We are using some of those dollars to support 24/7 operations at the sleep center through 2021, and then also for mobile coordinated entry, rapid rehousing, and case management. And then we have the Treasury Rent Assistance Program, and the so this is the Treasury Rent Assistance Program 2.0, which I think this information came before Commerce wanted folks to be opting into ERAP 2.0 rather than sticking with Treasury Rent Assistance because of the administrative requirements and reporting requirements, but I left that on there so you all can see it. The Consolidated Homeless Grant, which also includes our HEN funding for the Housing Essential Needs Program, and then our Community Development Block Grant, Public Services. So this CDBG grant is one that we receive every year, and this information is wrong. It's for asset building, pro bono lawyer services, employment and training in Walla Walla, Columbia, and Garfield counties. And then we have the Shelter Program Grant, and that is to increase bed capacity at the sleep center and to increase access to mainstream services to those experiencing homelessness. So that includes the mobile outreach service team that most bus. And then we have the Away Home Washington contract for the Anchor Community Initiative, the Youth and Adult Homelessness Work. And then the Coordinated Housing Fund, so 2163 and 2060. And then I put House Bill 1406 on here and the 2020 revenue. The decision was made last year to let that fund continue accruing. I do believe that it is in the interlocal agreement that the Council on Housing needs to provide a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners on the use of the funds on an annual basis, and we are probably actually at that time of year in which that annual recommendation is needed. And then here's the 2060 Affordable Housing Trust Fund from 2011 up until now, shows the beginning balance, the revenue, the expenditures, and then the ending balance. And then 2163, the Homeless Housing and Assistance Act, it shows the same thing, beginning balance, revenue, expenditures, ending balance. And it is because the ending balance, we do have to have 25% of the previous year's expenditures on the books in the ending balance. But as you can see, that balance has gotten larger, and that was what sparked the curiosity and interest to engage in conversations. And then I apologize that I did not get this all the way done. I am going to finish it, but was working on a table, and I welcome your feedback on what would be most helpful as far as the information, how the information is displayed, but a table to show the types of funding, the amounts, the allowable dates of allowable uses, the allowable interventions, and then if there are subcontracts, who those are with. So sorry, I just blew into my little microphone there. I'm going to pause there.
Okay, so does anyone have any questions or comments?
I have a question, Sam. Thanks for presenting all that. That's a lot to present. I know that part of the American Rescue Plan Act did contain funds specifically for mortgage payment for people who are behind and struggling to pay their mortgages. Has the county received word yet about that money and when it's coming through and how much is coming through?
I have not seen or heard anything about that, about how much it might be or when it's coming through. And I also know that because that was all a lot of information in a short period of time, that it can be a little hard to then engage in thoughtful discussion. And I want to be sure that there's an opportunity for that, because I think it's important that while we have this extra rent assistance money to use to support folks, that we look at if there's funding in areas for similar interventions that might actually, we might actually be able to use it for something else. So that is part of the reason for the discussion.
Okay, any other comments?
So Sam, what's the plan on trying to figure out how to spend the money?
Well, to talk about it with all of you. I do think it's really hard to predict, right, just what kind of what things will look like in the coming months. And I think it's nice to be able to begin conversations around what those things could be now. I envision perhaps talking about a couple of different ideas and including some flexibility in there that would allow us to pivot if something unexpected were to happen, or if we didn't quite anticipate an impact. I know that some of the folks that have been operating the ERAP and TRAP program have seen some rental increases to those individuals. And I don't know a lot about, but did hear about and see in the paper the Rancho Villa being sold, and so some potential lease increases there. I know that folks maybe haven't had time to really download that regional housing action plan. I think there's just a need for more thoughtful discussion around what's needed and how to best prioritize and strategize funding. I don't even know if that answered your question, but there's a lot of things in my brain right now. Sorry, Craig.
Okay, any further discussion?
Just a comment on Sam's the last part of how to spend that money. I think that ultimately all these pieces to the pie connect with why we're here, which is affordable housing, and we need to look from a holistic perspective of what strategies we need to look at to alleviate some of the shortages that we're seeing in the Valley. And a lot of conversations pointing back to the UGA. We got to work on getting the UGA expanded so we have more land to work with to continue building multifamily, to continue building affordable housing, and affordable housing that looks like a wide range of accessibility to people, not just in the low end or the high end, but also in the middle. We got to address all those things. So I just want to plant a seed with the team, all of us, to think about, some ways in which we could tackle this holistically. I think all the committees here and all the parties represented are doing a fantastic job. But I do think that we need to move in a direction of adopting a holistic approach to action items that will eventually impact our community with affordable housing.
Yeah, I would second that. To really be holistic with this approach. One of our key issues is how tight the urban growth area is. That's actually, in my opinion, like a self-inflicted thing pretty much. So, we just need to update those countywide planning policies, because that is basically what enabled the tightness, just so that way we can reflect the current data trends in growth. So.
Yeah, well, and I think with this table, those allowable interventions, to be really clear on what can then be used for affordable housing versus services to getting and keeping folks housed will likely be helpful. Anne Marie, Craig, Tim, Renee, and I had met to kind of talk about more how the information needed to be conveyed than anything else regarding the coordinated housing fund, and the report on the outcomes of the 5-year plan, and any changes to those needs to be reported to Commerce by November. I don't want to volunteer that same group to look at that, but I think that might be another next step, is to look at our progress on that, if there's any major changes that are needed, given the fact that the COVID-19 pandemic is occurring, and then using some of that information. I do want to be sure that that there's not, I still want to prioritize not disrupting services. So I think that's an important piece of those conversations too.
Okay, any further comments? Okay, hearing none, I want to be respectful for everyone's time and we're already going over a little bit. So is there any other business for good of the order before we adjourn?
Mike, this is Tim, and just real quick things for that have been on the agenda in the past is just, I know that there were certain areas where we're still looking for membership for the council, and just wanted to make sure that that is continuing, if there's anything that we need to follow up on. And then you know, Sam mentioned with Rancho Villa, and maybe it was in that meeting we were in the other day, but Renee had brought that up and expressed some concern about that being a trend of some of these affordable places, somewhat affordable places to stay, are being bought up by corporations and rent being raised by a large amount, or the lease on the land. And that could be detrimental for housing, for especially seniors.
Yeah, but well, yeah, very true. I mean, as far as the Rancho Villa thing, I would say with that speaks really to like what College Place is doing with the manufactured housing zoning code we're looking at putting in place. And I would likely urge others to follow suit on that, because unfortunately the way the real estate market is over here, while in other areas you could make the argument that you can do like a singular zoning to accommodate everything and it makes it easier. The realty market's just so red hot here that it's gonna ultimately always swing toward the ultimate and best use with highest profit. So you really have to put protections in there. As far as the first point about the gaps within counseling housing, we did touch that very early in the meeting with item number 3, and we basically split the tasks for that. So we have gaps in hospital, veterans, and transportation. And Amory's taking on the hospital, Sam's taking on the veterans, try to find someone, and then I am going to talk to Angie over at Valley Transit to try to cover transit, since Andrea has recently left the Valley for other employment opportunities.
Mike, can I just add one thing?
Yeah.
In terms of, you know, the concerns that have been raised about what's happening at Rancho Villa, our Affordable Housing Implementation Task Force is starting to work with the Rancho Villa residents, and we're going to be advocating to the city, probably kind of following with what we've done with College Place, which is first for a manufactured home park redevelopment moratorium, to give the city time to start to draft a manufactured housing park zoning ordinance. And then eventually, hopefully, in the city of Walla Walla, enact manufactured home park zoning. Our committee that's been working on this has been doing this research and advocacy for about 2 years. And so we presented a report to Walla Walla City Council over a year ago now on different local policies that can be used to protect manufactured home parks. So it's kind of hopefully in the lexicon already of Walla Walla City Council and the development services staff there, and something that could be acted on quickly because we have presented the research to city officials and city council members already on different policy measures that they can take to protect manufactured home park residents.
Okay. Is there any further comments?
Thanks for that, Rachel. I'm wondering if maybe folks can just commit to downloading some of the information that I sent out in their brains, and perhaps we can leave some more time towards the beginning portion of the October Council on Housing meeting to discuss the funds, the 5-year plan. How does that sound?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. I think that sounds appropriate. Any further comments for good of the order? Okay, hearing none, then we will adjourn the meeting because we are over the 3 o'clock. So we are adjourning it at 3:06 p.m. and we will regroup next month. So with that, thank you, everyone.